Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to review the very first Planar headphones of FiiO, which are called FT5, which are going for $500 but you can get them right now for $450 on FiiO's Amazon store. I leave a link below so you can check them out at a lower price. And knowing how great their FT3 headphones were in terms of build quality, sound quality, packaging, accessories, my expectations for FT5 were very high, and I must say that they didn't disappoint me a single bit. But before checking them out, let's see what can be found inside the package. Their unboxing experience is spectacular, and although I have tested plenty of headphones in the same price bracket, none of them came with as many accessories. First of all, they have this great looking carry case which will nicely protect them when traveling. This is a rigid, thick and high quality case. Another surprise was their detachable cable, which completely lacks microphonics when rubbing against the clothing. It uses 3.5mm jacks on the headphone end and swappable headphone jacks on the other side of the cable. They're offering a 3.5mm jack, a 1/4-inch headphone adapter, a 4.4mm bandsaw jack, and a 4-pin XLR adapter, so you can use them with portable or desktop devices. And I don't see the point of changing it with a different cable. This is not your regular oxygen-free copper cable, as FiiO used higher purity silver-plated monocrystalline copper conductors. Such a third-party cable usually costs a pretty penny, and I'm happy seeing it bundled with FT5. You can find an extra pair of ear pads, and in total you'll have a pair of leather and suede pads, which will sound differently, but more about that in a minute. Build quality-wise, I was not surprised how well everything is put together, knowing how their FT3 felt in my hands and also on my head. Nothing is really cracking, you cannot hear a sound when adjusting these on your head, which is actually very great. I don't like when headphones are making some weird sounds when adjusting or just looking around. Hyphaman. These, they just scream high quality. You cannot see a piece of plastic on these. You have these magnesium alloy ear caps, you have a stainless steel structure right here, some leather, I believe, suede pads or leather pads, and this is pretty much it. So you can see this self-adjusting mechanism once you put them on your head, which I believe works pretty great. They don't apply lots of pressure on top of my head. There is a little bit around my ears, but I can feel them after about an hour and a half, so for me that is not a big deal actually. They swivel a little, but not enough to place them flat on your table. I also like that these headphone connectors have an angle, so these are not shooting directly for your shoulders. So you can use some fancy third-party cables with some big connectors if you please. You can do that with FT5. Their ear caps are now bigger compared to FT3, mostly because we have much bigger drivers right now. So these are 90mm drivers versus 60mm on FT3, and these will no longer feel like on-ear headphones for some elven ears. I cannot feel my ears touching the innards of the earpads, so I believe these are much more comfortable compared to FT3. As for tech inside them, these are the first generation Planar headphones of FiiO, which use 90mm drivers, so very similar to those of latest Hyphamans and Odyssey, like Hyphaman Sundara, Odyssey LCD5, Odyssey MM100, MM500, so you should expect a very similar depth and soundstage on the FT5. At a thickness of 6 microns, these have extremely thin drivers, about 10 to 20 times thinner than human hair, and these are made out of silver aluminum alloy, which enhanced the conductivity of the coils and also their rigidity and reliability long term. Before you ask, these are using a double-sided magnet structure, so we have 11 magnets inside their ear caps and 9 magnets outside their ear caps, and in total we have 20 magnets per ear cap or 40 magnets per headphone. Having a sensitivity of 96 dB per a single milliwatt of power, these are quite sensitive, but these are far from being the most sensitive planar headphones that I have tried around here. These are slightly harder to drive to say. Mesa Elite, Mesa Empyrean, Keneton Rockner, RZH Charybdis, they need a little bit more juice for those punchy bass notes, so you should know that these are working better with desktop components, with desktop headphone amplifiers, than with portable devices. This is pretty much it. Let's hit some eardrums and let's check their sound signature. Sound-wise, FT5 is a big departure from FT3. Big is a very powerful word, but subjectively and objectively speaking, these sound and measure better compared to FT3. Right off the bat, what I felt with this is that the treble performance is no longer piercing like it was the case with FT3. So these are delivering more information in various places in the treble, but at the same time there is nothing of that piercing treble in the most sensitive part of our hearing, so in between 6 and 8 kilohertz. These are much more balanced sounding compared to FT3. Secondly, finally, they provide a really nice balance in between bass, mid-range and treble, which again was not happening on FT3. Overall, I believe these sound more natural. Finally, there is an equilibrium between the frequency response, and overall there is just more meat on the bone and more naturalness, something that was happening but only to a smaller degree on FT3. And obviously a double-sided magnet structure and bigger drivers are always synonymous with a bigger sound that stretches wider on all axes, a nicer depth as well, and also a crazier transit response that can kick some serious ass when modern tunes are asking for that. What is even more surprising is that there isn't a massive difference in terms of bass rendition when comparing leather earpads with suede earpads. The bass energy is more or less the same, only the upper treble seems by a hair hotter on the leather earpads. Obviously, you cannot measure everything, so I still needed to try them out with all kinds of music genres, and sure enough, the stock suede earpads sounded a little smoother to me, a bit more refined, and the sound was airier and bigger at the same time. Decay of the notes is slightly more natural on these earpads, on suede earpads. You can feel that the sounds are not poofing away out of existence, but are slowly and gradually going away, and that is somehow adding to the immersiveness that I'm listening to live records that happened somewhere in the past, you know. Truth to be told, I do not see the point of using leather earpads on the FT5. Leather earpads work great on the Mesa Elite. Actually, leather earpads are my favorite earpads of the Mesa Elite because the bass is a little stronger and a little tighter sounding, but that is not really the case with FT5. Leather pads on the FT5 are making the sound a little smaller. Everything is not as airy or as decompressed. The sound is smaller on all axes, the decays are shorter, and overall the sound is breaking up faster on the leather earpads. What surprised me with FT5 is that I can listen to aggressive music, I can listen to fast-paced electronica, I can listen to some relaxing tunes like blues and jazz, or to some big orchestras. All of that worked on the FT5. There is more than enough rumble down low to impress an electronic addict or a transit response nut. Mid-range never felt fake or forced sounding. It's quite smooth, it's easygoing, things that usually resonate with blues and jazz. And the sound is always airy, it's spacious, it's breathing, things that work well with live music and with big orchestras. It's a rare sight when a genre master headphone is being tested around here, but the more I listen to them, the more I realize that FiiO has a gem on their hands that not only feels and looks fantastic, but also sounds absolutely amazing with every musical genre. Think about a Sennheiser HD650, but without the veil, with boosted transparency and resolution, with a faster sound, with a bigger sound as well, and with a nicer treble extension, and you'll get the FiiO FT5. It's that simple. Let's talk a little bit about dynamics and transients, because those are quite important on the FT5. First of all, with a sensitivity of 96 dB per a single milliwatt of power and having an impedance of 36 ohms already tells me a very clear message. These will demand lots of current coming from your amplifier. I tried these with plenty of portable devices, but honestly they worked better in all regards with desktop components that can provide you a healthy current. With USB dongles and Bluetooth dongles there was enough volume, but the sound was not very controlled. The bass was flabby, boomy. I didn't like that sound with the FT5. With bigger DAC Amp combos like FiiO Q7, like Shanling H7, like Tapping G5, they worked much better, so you can go with those devices. And with desktop components from FiiO portfolio, I believe that K9 Pro, R9 worked just outstanding with the FT5. After trying a bunch of USB dongles, Bluetooth thingies, portable DAC Amp combos, portable digital audio players, desktop components, it was clear to me that they sound simply nicer on desktop components that could deliver you slightly more power. The sound was not only grippier and more controlled and faster and punchier and more alive, but also bigger, more transparent. I could look deeper into my sound, something that was not really happening with portable devices so easily. FT5 has one of the most impressive spectral decays that I have measured with Planar headphones in this price bracket, reinforcing my claims that FT5 uses fast drivers and could potentially deliver a really nice kick into the eardrums with a great amplifier sitting on your table. Moving on to Soundstage, first of all, I think that the newest trend of shrinking planar magnetic drivers is not a very good idea. Because, sure enough, you'll have a much better control over that driver because it's a smaller one, but you'll need much more powerful magnets to achieve the same sound pressure level compared to a bigger driver. And also, the Soundstage will never be as big versus 100 or 105mm drivers. For example, Odyssey LCD4 versus Odyssey LCD5. LCD4 is cheaper, LCD5 is more expensive. LCD4 much bigger sounding, the depth is truly fantastic. They have this holographic 3D sound, which LCD5 is not having at all. Those are mostly on stage, not impressive at all. They sound like regular headphones in terms of Soundstage. LCD4, punchy, alive, very fun sounding, very visceral. Something that, again, is not happening with LCD5. LCD4 easily reaching those 20 Hz notes, easily, but those are missing the action on the LCD5. So again, I believe that bigger drivers are always winning, especially on headphones. I don't blame FiiO for this. I'm pretty sure they're still experimenting with different driver sizes, with different materials. This is still the very first headphone of FiiO. But at this price point, I do believe you can do better in terms of soundstage and depth. For example, Hyphaman Ananda Nano is more impressive in terms of depth. There are more layers of sounds. Moondrop Venus is more impressive when it comes to soundstage. There is simply more information to my left and right, more sounds to my left and right compared to FT5. On the flip side, these are more coherent and more natural sounding, and these are more balanced in terms of bass, mid-range and treble compared to those two. However, in defense of FT5, I'll say that there are plenty of headphones that do not sound so wide and open. For example, Sennheiser HD660S2, not so impressive. Olo S4X, S5X, mostly up front inside my head. Not that impressive. And also Odyssey MM100, quite flat, quite 2D sounding. So again, FT5 can still portray a decent soundstage and place the sounds on multiple layers if suede pads are being used. Moving on to frequency response, we are getting a high quality type of bass, and if you need a punchy and visceral bass, then you'll need a powerful desktop amplifier that can provide all the current. If you look at the raw measurements and later at distortion numbers, then you'll observe that this is a very clean type of bass, even at 90 dB SPL, which is very loud. Distortion barely touches 2% in the sub-bass region, but usually stays in between 0.1 and 0.5%, which is great. Quantity-wise, you can see a straight line from 20 Hz to almost 600 Hz, so again, there is as much bass as you can desire, so no complaints in here. The mid-range has its ups and downs versus FT3, which are slightly fuller bodied compared to FT5, but still I didn't get any kind of nasal voices, thin sounding violins or guitars that lacked emotions and grunt. So these are still sounding like some proper planar headphones with plenty meat on the bone and some naturalness thrown in. There is a little to no difference in the measured performance between leather and suede pads happening in the mid-range, but subjectively the sound felt easier and smoother with suede pads, acoustic instruments faded away in a more natural manner, and again, this is what I would use most of the time. Treble is without a doubt the biggest upgrade versus FT3. There is plenty of sparkle, plenty of bite in the most sensitive part of our hearing between 6 and 8 kHz. There is a slippery slope and then a rise. So in much simple terms, they sound more natural and more real compared to FT3, which were mostly bright and bothering in long listening sessions, something that won't happen on FT5. If you want a little bit more treble energy, then you can add those leather ear pads, which will be doing exactly that. But these will feel mostly natural and smooth sounding compared to something like Hi-Fi headphones or HD800S by Sennheiser. Wrapping up for $499 US, we're getting a stealthy looking headphone that doesn't attract a lot of eyes. FT5 impresses with the build quality. Those magnesium ear caps still look as new after 2 months of use, and the bundled accessories should cover all your portable and desktop needs. The sound didn't disappoint a single bit, and although these are not providing me the largest soundstage or the strongest kick in the lowest octaves, these still impressed me with their resolution, with their fast start and stop of the drivers, with their naturalness, working as genre master headphones most of the time. There are many headphones out there which I like at this price point, but none of them are doing justice to all musical genres like these are doing, getting my stamp of approval. This is it. Thank you guys for watching, for supporting. My name is Sando, and I'll see you very, very soon.